can be quite beneficial. So, we have to kind of push that as much as possible. So I just have a few ideas just to kind of throw out there, and then I'll kind of get other people's ideas. So I think we should kind of launch a campaign in the next couple of weeks in regards to, those that have been left out of the access program, and there's many of them. And we probably should do like a press conference, a kind of launch outside, like near the Dáil. So that's one of the ideas that I was thinking of. And obviously this meeting is about kind of getting ideas together and talking to people and say, look, what do they think going forward, what we should do. So that they're just kind of small ideas that I have to launch a campaign, and to kind of, people that are in the situation that, can't get a license, and, they may be using medical cannabis, they may be not. And, and they think, that they can benefit from medical cannabis, but they're being denied that because of the constraints of the medical cannabis access program. Even though, as I said, the last 6 years have been extremely frustrating. We have made strides, but, we need to make much bigger strides than we have been doing. And I think with everybody coming together and kind of pushing it as much as possible and pressurizing politicians, there's other organizations that you can't, probably not accountable, like the HPRA, people that kind of put these kind of reviews together, but we need to convince them. Now, there may be other kind of factors, and there's always other factors in relation to the MCAP. I mean, there's commercial kind of pressures as well, because if only 4 people are getting, access to medicinal cannabis, it's really, it's not commercially. I don't mean commercially, but for the company. I mean, so there's commercial interests in this, but the interest that we have is for patients and advocates, so people can get access to medical cannabis and get it via the program, via prescription. So that's the most important thing, via prescription. And there's obviously the license route, but that's so arbitrary that I don't think it's fit for purpose by any means. I know some people that may be on this call that may have a license, and that's fair enough. But it's via prescription, and for other conditions. So look, I'm going to open it up and get everybody else's view, and hopefully I can do this properly, because I'm usually the opposite person on this. So I'll open up, and if people can just kind of say, maybe put up a hand or something like that if they want to kind of just speak, because I can't see everybody. So maybe if they can put up that yellow hand. So who wants to go
Gino,
first?
I'll
Okay,
start
that's Pam. Okay. And can people just keep it relatively short so we can get as many people as possible, because I have to go at 8 o'clock, unfortunately. I just have to speak somewhere else.
Okay, so as most people on here know, we have a license since 2019. We're not getting reimbursed. Ryan's down to half of his medication now that is prescribed by his doctor, purely on a financial basis that we can't afford it. We are about 2 months out from being not able to afford anymore, and we'll have no option but to go back to the black market. In regards of hitting up people that we can, I have written confirmation from all of the Wicklow representatives that got elected into the Dáil on the last election, who will stand with this. So I will be pulling them all on that. I have it in writing, and they know that I will be doing it. And as anyone knows me, they know that I will stick to it. The HIPAA report, my biggest thing about the people reviewing it is that the people that done it in the first place, they don't have any cannabis experience. So is there in any way that we can look at the people that are reviewing it this year and at least get people who have experience? We're part of the EU. We're brilliant that we're Irish, and I love the fact that we're Irish, but we have the EU there, and we need to use that so we can take on other specialists in the European Union. And why can't we use them? Like the HIPAA report, they took what they wanted out of other people's published papers, but they only chose parts of them. So can we not in some way push for the review to be done by professionals? Like I really did like go through the 10 committee members that drew up the HIPAA report, and none of them have cannabis experience. None of them are qualified in what they've done.
What?
I asked under the Freedom of Information Act
What?
for,
What happened?
yeah,
No, it's okay, Pam. Keep talking.
I asked under the Freedom of Information Act for the minutes of the meetings of when they sat, because how can you draft a report if you haven't sat and discussed it like we are doing tonight? And I was pushed back by the Department of Health. Do you know what I mean? So we want to get it done. We want to get it done in public, and we want the right people to be reviewing it this time around. It's been too long drawn out for us. You know what I mean? It needs to be done. If it's been reviewed this year, we need to have it reviewed in the correct terms. That's my biggest thing, is that the people that are reviewing it have the experience and the knowledge to actually look at it in the correct manner, not people that they pick. And it should be coming from patients and the people that are on it. And for people who have licenses and whose doctors are saying that, like in Ryan's case, Ryan's doing brilliant. They are discriminating against Ryan by not allowing him on the program. Do you know what I mean? So for people who have been proven, even though the government don't want to collect the data, if somebody has been on a license and it can be proven that the length of time on the license, the medical cannabis has helped them, they should be allowed on the program regardless of the condition. Exemptions are made every day in the Dáil, regardless of everything. And Gino, this is not you at all, but expenses and bar tabs and you name it, there. So exemptions are always there. Rules are there to be broken. They're broken every day.
Okay. Thanks, Pam.
Okay. That's me.
Thanks, Pam. Anybody else?
All right.
Just difficult. Hold on. I might be able to do this better.
I'd like to come in there.
Oh, yeah, Amy, go on. Yeah, go on, Amy. Go on.
Please. I don't have, you know my story inside and out, so I don't need to really go into the details, but the chronic pain associated with endometriosis is something that prevented me from doing many things in life. With the use of cannabis, I'm back in college now. I'm a social care student. I climbed the Sugarloaf Mountain on Sunday with my old chronically ill ridden body because of cannabis. And accessing it on the black market is all well and good until I lose my license, my driving license, and that's what I depend on to get to my hospital appointments with my 7 consultants across 3 counties, and it's also what I depend on to get to college as well. So my biggest fear, I need a cannabis license so as I don't lose my driving license, and it's a fear that I'm living with every day, and it's not fair. It's
Amy, can I correct you there, sweetheart? Even with the license, if you have a high level of THC in your system, it's not going to eliminate you from being under the influence of driving.
Well, again, this is something then that we need to push further with in the bill, perhaps outside of the, because it's something it's a fear that's weighing on me. Anyways,
that won't help you, that end of it.
Thanks for sharing, for letting me know. But anyways, the point I want to make is currently I'm being prescribed the same medication as chemo patients for extreme nausea. So Valoid or Stemetil, the same medication that they get is what I'm being given. So under those circumstances, why shouldn't I be prescribed the same cannabis medication as those patients if I'm being prescribed the same pharmaceutical medication anyway? So that's one of my kind of main points, is it's a bit of a contradiction, like, just because it's the MCAT program, I'm still on the same med, so I should be entitled to it through that as well. So I'll leave it there. I want to let other people be able to say what they have to say before the time.
Yeah.
So thanks, Gino, for listening.
Thanks for sharing that. Anybody else?
Can I just add something there, Gino?
David,
I kind of feel like I've applied for a license for 5 years, and but you need a consultant to get a license. I've got MS. My consultant, who I think it's time to start naming and shaming these consultants who will not take part in the program, because what is the point in a program that insists that we have consultants that sign the paperwork to make the program happen, and those consultants are not. My consultant is the eminent Tim Lynch, Tim Lynch is the man who set up the Irish Neurological Institute on Eccles Street. How many patients has Tim Lynch got under his remit of neurological conditions like MS, Parkinson's? How many of these are treatable with medical cannabis? And some of them are so visibly treatable. Things like Parkinson's disease. And yet he is also in the Mater Hospital. So while he's a private, I went to see him first. You pay your private money, big money, for your first half an hour. Then you're pushed in. Then you're brought into the Mater Hospital. So in the Mater Hospital, 5 years I've been asking for, and I don't see Tim anymore because he certainly won't entertain talking with me. So I'm down with some of the consultants under him. But it doesn't matter. But every now and again, I meet a consultant going, "Oh yeah, we totally think it's cannabis, blah blah blah." But Mater Hospital has an overriding thing that they will not support any patient. So if there's a program, it doesn't exist, the program. If the program insists that I have to have a consultant's letter and I have to go through the criteria of doing the drugs that they asked me to do, they gave me some kind of pharma drug, tinnitus or whatever. I have MS, I'm a qualifying condition apparently, and I have to do the drugs that they say you got to do. I did the drugs. I didn't take them because they're pointless. All I'm doing is putting toxins into my body. Why would I do that when I've got cannabis working for me? So I mean, it's so meaningless, and that has to stop being meaningless, or else there is no program. Where is the program? And sorry, Gino, I know how well you're working and how hard you've worked, and I know how frustrating this has to be for you. And I'm sorry to be yet another frustrated voice in behind, but it really is getting absurd, man. It's getting me down. I'm finding it hard to have any voice in activism anymore because it's triggering, and you just go, what the hell? It just goes on, and I can feel your pain of the last 5 years, Gino. That's what I'm saying. So I'm saying, well done, but there is, the consultants should be named and shamed. And that's what I believe. The consultants in Irish hospitals, who all are not supporting this, and you had them in the health committee a while ago. The guy is saying with the epileptic, the guy who's in charge of epilepsy, and he's saying, no, I wouldn't prescribe this. I mean, what's he supposed to be doing? What's he doing in that health committee? If he's there to say, I won't prescribe this. What's he doing there?
A doctor can't actually tell you what they can and can't do. You have a right to choose your treatment. That is under an EU covenant. You have the right to a personalized treatment plan, and doctors needed to be reminded when you go in, when you visit them, that this is your right. You have a right to choose your medicine.
Okay, thanks, Matt. John, do you want to come in there?
Yeah, just even on what is approved, I have MS as well. I mean, Vincent's very good neurologist. He knows that I have chronic pain. All he can give me for it is Lyrica or gabapentin, massive doses of it. I'm bouncing at the very top of what he can give me and all the side effects that go with that and all as well. But even with Sativex, which is approved for spasticity at MS, he cannot prescribe that until he has given me and proven to have failed on a load of other drugs, some of which are actually addictive. They're one-way trips. Once you go on them, you don't really come back. But even if he does prescribe Sativex, and I'd have to go down a long road of ugly drugs before I got there, it's not covered under the long-term illness or the medical card. It's 450 quid for 3 months supply. I can't afford that on a disability benefit, So,
John, can I ask you a question? And probably this is what I've heard is that there will be a product available early this year. I think it's a Tilray product that will be prescribable for those that have MS. Now, obviously, that is on
for spasticity or for pain.
No, MS.
Yeah, but MS spasticity or MS pain.
Both.
Right, because at the moment it's not approved for MS pain.
I'm
Right.
MS pain as well, Gino, just to clear that up. So
Okay.
you don't fit the spasticity bill. So I'm a chronic pain, but have MS.
Right. Just what I heard, and probably others have heard it as well, that there will be a Tilray product with a high THC level that will be available on prescription early spring.
Right,
and
but
Yeah. Now, whether
It'd be covered under long-term illness, though. That's the problem.
It all depends if consultants, specialists of that area, then refer themselves to the program and then refer their patients. If they don't, then nobody's going to get anything. But it depends on the consultant to say, look, okay, in this situation, some of the people under my care, I will refer them to this program. Because a very good friend of mine's son he was the first person to get. I was very surprised he even got it. And the good news is that his son is doing quite well. He has refractory epilepsy, so he's doing quite well with the canny apple at the moment. So that's good. But hopefully, that when other products come available, then other people will get it, particularly around MS or the side effects of chemotherapy.
Yeah, but you get the point I'm making, that it's not just being approved and getting consultants to prescribe them, is they have to be covered under the medical card or the long-term illness scheme.
John, it would be. It just say, if that Tilray product or another product comes available that's under the qualifying conditions, such as yours, then it will be covered by the medical card. It's like any other drug.
But why, if that, Sativex is not covered under?
No, but Sativex is not. But a medical cannabis product, if that comes available, which it will, for MS, and your specialist says, look, John, let's try this. It will be covered under the long-term illness scheme. It's basically like the medical card. And you can get it in your pharmacy. My friend gets it, but his son has refractory epilepsy. So it'll be like...
I'm the same with MS as well. I have it, and I've tried to approach my consultants as well, up in St. Vincent's, and the same pushback. You've got to try it's not even to even get additional things on the MCAP program. It's to even get it started for the people who are already qualified. They haven't even got it close. It just seems like there's barriers each way. Every time you go to your consultant, you ask for a referral. And then you go, and then now the next thing you'll have to do is go to your GP, get them to try and get on your side, and you have to try and persuade your GP to write a letter so that the consultant doesn't have he's going to be reviewed under the GP. Do you know what I mean? So you have to it's ridiculous. It's not even accessible to people who are already supposed to be one of the three, eligible conditions. Like spasticity is what I have, and it just seems they'll give you all the pregabalin and all the different types. Baclofen, I ended up urinary problems with it, going into hospital, taking the medication, and it just seems like such a pushback. But I mean, we just have to fight the fight.
Yeah,
that's kind of the way.
I think so, Kevin. I think so.
It's to try and simplify it, to have an easy path for even just to get the ball rolling on the conditions that are qualifying at the moment. So what do we have to do? Okay, we have to go to the consultant. The consultant says no. Okay, well, we get a second referral. He says no. Okay, then we go back to the GP. The GP writes a letter. There should be a plan for people on how to go through the process so that we're covering it for not only just the consultants, but for the GPs. That's who really should be the ones that are closest to you. Should be able, you should be able to confide in them on your condition, and just to get the simple step-by-step. Okay, this is what we got to do. So if you get a knockback, what is the next step we have to go through? We're here to play the game as best we can, but we would like to know right, well, if we have to do this, I know we have to try all the medicines. So I've already tried. How many do we have to try? Is it 2, you say, for my condition, we try it, and if it doesn't work, we can then go into the next step? Or is it 3? Or is it 4? How many would you like? There's 8 different medications or something like that. I've taken 3 different, and they don't work for me personally.
And Kevin, just a quick question.
Very hard.
The specialist under your care, obviously you have approached him or her about medical cannabis. What's their response?
It's just that no, it's pretty much just a pushback. I got a second referral from one of his colleagues or whatnot, and they had the same kind of thing. They wrote a letter, it goes back to the GP. But I know Vera Toomey is quite good. She had a post on her page, and she kind of laid out a plan on how she gets access. But I'm talking about, how do you even get onto the MCAP program? The problem is people who are accessible, who are eligible can't even get that right now at the moment. They can't get access regardless. Like, so, but what do we need to do? Do we need to, okay, one knockback, two back, get a third part. You need us to get a third private knockback. Then we go to the GP, then can he prescribe? So what is the clear path on to get somebody with a qualifying condition? And I would love everybody to have access, but at the end of the day, they haven't even kind of just organized the first three simple things. Somebody with chemo who is sick, so a spasticity, and then I think there's some epilepsy as well. I think there's three very specialized conditions, and there's no route, or there's no plan, or there's no just simple, this is what you have to do. You get a knockback, bam, bam, bam. It would be very nice if you had 5 steps, 6 steps, 7 steps. What do we have to do? And we'll get there, you know, and that's the way. And if they perfect even just the first 3 to get the ball rolling, I think then that, you know, then the conversation of other conditions as well will all come into play. But they haven't even got the ball rolling on the first 3 basic ones. So I can't see them even getting to the next stage until they fix the first 3, you know, like, so that's just my take on it at the moment.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks. Anybody else?
Can I just say something?
Or
Aisling. I think we have to remember going into this that we have a healthcare crisis. The whole system is gone to shit. So even if all the consultants said, yeah, we'll all do it, which they're not, how do we even get an appointment for the consultant to get your 3 knockbacks before blah, blah, blah? And then these consultants are literally, how many is there? Something like 3 in the country that do it, and finding out who they are, it's like, we have the name of one, and God love him, because everybody's getting sent to him, like, but that's not on. That should be fucking illegal. And basically, why are we've seen, as the last speaker said, how long it's taken them to nail down 3 illnesses out of, if you look around the world, all the illnesses that can be seen to have benefit. Like, for the list of illnesses across the States that somebody like Vera or Pam or Amy or John or anybody has like done their activism for fucking 6 years to get those illnesses on the different states' medical access programs. Can we not go for starting from there? Do we have to start from scratch? This is bullshit. Like, we're going to keep coming up. The people in this bloody place are going to be dead by the time we have access now. I don't mean to be fucking dramatic, but that's the way it's going to be. We need access if your illness responds well to cannabis. You need to have at least the right to grow your own fucking medication, and to continue with your consultant. They must be forced to continue giving you your x-rays and your fucking diagnostics. Like, this is, it's a crime against fucking humanity. And I'm sorry for personal swearing, and that's the end of it.
Thanks, Ashton. Martin, do you want to get in there?
Yeah, forgive me if there's a crying baby being heard in the background. But I just wanted to jump in and say, Gino, about the recent case of Violet and the Sinn Féin TD sitting up there at the moment, that with all the discussion going on within the Dáil, that she knowingly had a husband or partner at home who was using cannabis to treat a medical condition illegally. She's a lawmaker. We've many people out there who are not lawmakers and who are in the same situation. And we expect these people to speak out and share their experiences, but meanwhile lawmakers sit there and remain quiet. That her partner's gone through the court cases again recently. He has a condition which is listed on the Medical Cannabis Access Programme. So what does that say about the effectiveness of the programme if a lawmaker above there in the Dáil with yourselves, as you're putting this programme together, can't even get her partner access to it? Or is it that the stigma is too great around medical cannabis use that she would be rather just keep it hidden? So I just kind of wanted to bring that up in this discussion, that active sitting lawmakers they know that their partners are breaking the law and benefiting from it too.
Thanks, Martin. Anybody else, lads? Yeah, it's a good point, Martin. I mean, I can't speak for Violet. I spoke to her on a personal basis, and you know, she's fully supportive of the campaign. So, Laddie.
Sorry, I don't have a crying baby in the background, but I might have a barking dog. Like, is there any way that we can get a register of GPs who are open to the prospect of prescribing cannabis? I mean, we have, for the abortion, GPs are registered on a website. I mean, doctors should not be allowed to categorically refuse to even entertain the conversation. They have to be open to the conversation. And I do think that is a major stumbling point, is the secrecy behind it all. And I think the secrecy is probably holding back people's access as well, because they don't know where to go. They don't know who to contact. They don't know the next steps. Like I think Kevin was saying, even if there was a step-by-step guide and a list, it would ease a lot of issues with people in terms of not knowing what door to go to next. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, that's a good point. It is confusing. Because I think people were under the impression that, you know, things were going to be kind of not plain sailing, but access easier. But it's you know yourselves, it's extremely difficult to say the least. Now, hopefully, things you have to be an eternal optimist around here, but hopefully, things change. They may not, but obviously this campaign is, you know, over the last 6 years, it's been kind of shaped by individuals, families, advocates to kind of shape it in a way, you know, to get access. And it's been unbelievably difficult. But we have to kind of, I suppose, just be mindful that we have to keep pushing on, even though it's difficult at times and you feel like you're hitting your head against a wall. But we need to, you know, keep moving and then put pressure on the powers that be, as I said, to change the remit around the MCAP. Because the MCAP as an idea, I mean, under prescription is a good idea. I mean, obviously, I don't want to conflate the two issues about legalization, regulation. That's a different matter for the moment. But what we want is to have a system where people, if they medically need cannabis, that they should be able to legally and medically get it under prescription for free. Yeah.
Can I make a suggestion maybe about the campaign that you're planning on launching?
Yeah. That was the next best thing. That was the next thing. Go on.
Yeah. So I feel like if we can focus on the consultants and GPs, first of all, and the lack of will for them to prescribe, because it is further traumatizing patients. When you're waiting like that 18 months, I waited 5 years for my first pain clinic appointment from 2016, and I didn't get an appointment until 2021. Like, that's crazy. 5 years. And then to be flat out refused. So I, again, had to go to another avenue. Now, I'm after getting an appointment for next week in Limerick with a pain consultant. I've no idea how it's going to go. I'm praying that it's going to go well, but I don't know. And I feel like the narrative and the perception in the public about the MCAP program is, oh, sure, you have medical cannabis now. Like, it's great. The public perception seems to be, sure, people are sorted. So I feel like the campaign should be emphasising that actually the 3 conditions in place, it's very, very difficult, not to mention the thousands that's left behind.
Yeah, good point, Amy. Very good point. John?
Yeah, there was just, after watching Bernard Durkin there last week, I was wondering, I mean, the only... like most people, I only have my impression of what it's like up in the Dáil, what the TDs and senators are doing from the public image and what comes out on the news. But I'd like to ask you in particular, Gino, I mean, you meet these people fairly regularly. I mean, just how ever since 2009, Professor David Nutt, that proved that the whole drug war is based on a fallacy and it should have ended the war on drugs. But I'm just wondering how many of your colleagues up in the Dáil and the Senate would actually be still stuck in that old prohibitionist mindset. I mean, is it very common? Would you say 50% of them are like, they're as bad as Durkin, or would you say is it more nuanced than that?
I think it's more nuanced, John.
Okay.
I do. I'm not surprised. I mean, obviously there's people you'll never convince in here. Never, ever, under any circumstances. They equate cannabis with heroin, essentially. So that's the kind of basis they're coming from.
Cannabis with what? Sorry?
Heroin. Basically, that's what they're saying. They're saying cannabis is as bad as heroin. Now, if you're coming from that if you're coming from that point of view, you've lost me now completely, you know. And I think we've lost, you know, if that's their mindset, you know, that's what you're talking about.
I'm just wondering how. I mean, if there was a group of people like there's Martin Conlon there, and a lot of people and Ashling are involved in like a Cannabis Actors Alliance, and one of the things they could do is they could target certain groups of TDs with literature and engaging with them. And I'm just wondering, is there? I mean, if you had somebody, some media person like who know well, you know, who could advise you, they could tell you, well, these people, they research, these people are terribly anti, don't go near them. These people,
John, some people you are never convinced, but there is a cohort of people, regardless of what your party you're in, are definitely open to the idea of doing something different from what the state has been doing before, right? So, but look, I think it's a different debate, and we'll have that when I put the bill forward, hopefully in the next couple of months, in relation to regulation. But I mean, I'll be surprised. Some people have come up to me from different parties, and they have said to me on a personal basis that they would support regulation of cannabis. And I was surprised actually by some of the, not saying loads of people have done it, but it's happened about 5 or 6 different TDs in the last year, and they've said that they would, on a personal basis, they would support regulation.
Right.
So it's quite nuanced, you know.
Right.
Natalie, is that an old hand?
No, it's a new one. I just want to jump on what Amy was saying in terms of the campaign. Like, the public do think MCAP is there. What are you complaining about? You have it. So, like, it does need to be highlighted, like patient stories of who can't get access, who are not included on the list, who are struggling 5 years to get any sort of conversation going with their medical doctors.
Yeah.
Highlight those people and those cases and those conditions that are not covered, and we need to go back to the drawing board if we're going to restart this conversation in the public again. I mean, you're going to have to pull on the heartstrings. You're going to have to make it emotive.
Exactly.
You know, like
exactly.
Policy-wise, with a big policy document is not going to get you anywhere with the public. And at the end of the day, you need your public support for this to get any sort of traction.
Yeah.
So
it's a good, very good point. Very good.
That would be my other 2 cents.
Yeah, no, very good point, Natalie. Martin, is that an old hand or?
No, it's a new one again, Gino. I just wanted to jump in on again the medical cannabis access program and the products that are on it. It's quite limited, and I just wanted to again follow up on what I was saying about even the TD's husband. There's been a number of other patients who've been dragged through the courts and criminalised for their medicinal use of cannabis. Probably one of the most atrocious ones was the man Paul Lee caught with €4 worth of cannabis down in West Cork. How are we going to accommodate for people who've been criminalised and who are currently engaged in criminal activity when we're going to have this medical cannabis access program? And they might have the conditions there, so they're adequately treating their condition at home. It might be a caregiver, a loved one growing the cannabis for them. And now there's going to be a program there. The cost through the program is quite ridiculous. And if the government aren't going to be reimbursing all of the patients, then that might be a barrier for access for them. So how do we accommodate people who are already, again, as I say, breaking the law and adequately treating their condition when this program kind of gets underway? Because that's something to be taken into consideration again, and I think it's very relevant given the lawmakers' partners' situation above there too.
Okay.
So
Pamela?
Thanks.
Yeah. You're on mute, Pamela.
Sorry. Again, like, people think just when you get a license that you're done and dusted, all right? But they forget that your license is only valid for 6 months. And within that 6 months, you need to reapply. So every 20 weeks, you have to get back onto your consultants, you have to get back onto your GPs, and you have to apply all over again. Now, that's another thing that needs to be looked at, because no condition is going to go away in 6 months' time. And if you've been granted a license, the added pressure that's been put on us as a family, well, me personally, because I'm the one that does it, like, I have to chase, for instance, every 20, start at 16 weeks, I have a reminder in my calendar to start ringing up to get the letter sent out, so I can bring him to the GP, that he can sign off, and that I can get into the Department of Health, that another license can be issued before a prescription can be sent. But, like, even at that, people think that just because you have a license, you're sorted. But we're not. Like, I'm near enough bankrupt now. Do you know what I mean? Like, we were paying $1,080 a month. We're now down to $540 a month, purely for the fact that we're not being able to afford it. But I still have the stress of every 6 months having to apply for that license. And in actual Christmas week, they didn't. The first week of December, we sent in the paperwork for his license running out in the middle of December. And Christmas week, they came back to me, and they'd actually allowed a shipment in on the 15th of December, a full month's prescription. No license was issued prior to that. So at that stage, there was no license for Ryan, but they still allowed a shipment in. And then they come back then on Christmas week and ask us for further information. Do you know what I mean? Like, that has to be looked at as well. I can't deal with the stress of literally, I feel like I'm only getting one license and I'm searching for money, and then I'm turning around then and having to look again to apply for a license. If we have the license, we have the license. The illness isn't going anywhere. Like, so if we could address the ministerial licenses in this as well, and they keep saying it to the Department of Health every time it's submitted, his illness isn't going anywhere. Yes, his tumour is shrinking, and that's due to medical cannabis, and his consultants have noted that. But like, people think just because you have a license, you're sorted. We're not. We're broke. We're broke from paying from it. Do you know what I mean? The stress has given me a mental breakdown. You know what I mean? And it's just, them things need to be addressed as well. It's not okay just to get the license. When you get the license, you're not okay. You're not finished by in any sort. You know what I mean? Every 6 months, you have another deadline to meet, regardless of the monthly payments in itself. You know, so that needs to be addressed as well, Gino. Do you know what I mean? Because it's taken.
That's a good point. Okay, I don't see any more hands up. So what I'm going to do is just kind of sum up and see what we can do. The next step. Just kind of for your own information, interesting enough, the HPRA approved cannabis floss in regards to a statutory instrument.
They did on the 27th of October. Stephen Donnelly signed that document.
Yeah.
Exactly the same medicine that Ryan gets from the same company with the same THC levels. And that's why I'm going hard this year, and I won't stop until I get him on it.
Yeah. So you have a situation, it's approved by the HPRA, but it has to get a license to then be sold by a prescription. Now, hopefully it will. But you know, you'll have that situation that, you know, cannabis floss can be, you know, attainable under a prescription.
They're already giving it to us. They're already shipping it in first. The Department of Health ship it in first.
Yeah, they already do a full license, but just don't do a full prescription. So it's
a prescription anyway. My doctor writes a prescription on the same prescription piece of paper that anyone else will give anyway. I can show you. I have one here.
No.
You know,
so it's just for noting, and it's a kind of so there's kind of huge kind of contradiction going on. So look at the main thing that we need to do is to kind of look at it kind of this as a different phase in relation to access. And Natalie, I think, made a very good point in relation to, you know, what has been the cutting edge of the campaign has been people telling their stories, you know, and appealing to, as I said, the government and to broaden this access program out. Or even, I mean, for starters, for those the qualified condition, for those that have the qualifying condition, is to get access. But at the moment, there's only one product and there's only 4 individuals that getting it. And all indications are all Epidiolex will now be available under prescription as of next week, and the majority of specialists will guide people with, you know, children with refractory epilepsy towards Epidiolex, and that's their business and so forth. So look at the program it's so restrictive now that you can actually almost take refractory epilepsy out. So it has to be broadened out, and particularly around chronic pain. If you look at the Danish medical cannabis access program, it includes chronic pain. I think it's neurological pain. So because I think in some ways you have to be, because chronic pain is quite a broad term, but look at that's the kind of, I don't want to go to the finer details, but chronic pain should be included, like other conditions where it's proved that, you know, there's good efficacy around medical cannabis. So what I'm suggesting in the next 2 to 3 weeks that we have a press conference near the Dáil, and to launch a kind of campaign to say, look, we need access to medical cannabis. We need the access program to give us access. and we have a right to, to call for that. And we want the review to include other conditions. So that's why I'm proposing to have a press conference and maybe do a launch out of the Dáil, and then get some, I suppose, some coverage via the media, and then to kind of, it won't be a campaign such as, structures or anything. It'll be kind of loose in some ways. If people want to put structures on it, go ahead if you want. But I'm just saying this is just a suggestion that, we'll launch a campaign. If people want to come, that's spoken here tonight, if they want to be part of that, certainly you can get in contact with me, and we'll put it out that, the access program is welcome that it started, but, we can't get access via prescription. We can't even get a license. But look at this whole host of people that have been denied it, and we need to broaden that out. So that's basically what we need to do over the very, very short term, and then in the long term, that hopefully that they expand the qualified conditions and more people will get access. It's going to be a hard fight. It's always been a hard fight, but it's a fight worth worth fighting for. So so that's that. I'll give 2 or 3 minutes to wrap up. Is there anybody else? What do people think about them kind of just for starters?
Yeah, I'll do it. Just give us a date in advance, and I'll definitely be there. The medicines that they come in.
There's the floss there, yeah. Very good.
That's the floss. So it means they're already here. It's the same company. It's the same THC level. And that's what I want them accessed under. Okay.
Well, it's a good. I think, Pamela, you should be at the press conference. And maybe Amy, possibly. John, would you?
Yeah, 100%. Sorry, was that on mute?
Yeah, sorry. John, would you take part? You're on mute there.
Which John?
John D.
John D.
Yeah. John, will you just pass me on your details? Just email me, or I think Jen. I don't know if Jen Devlin's on here, but I want Jen. I'll contact Jen and ask her, would she take part as well? Because Jen's a good advocate, and she kind of, in that situation where she can't get access. So look, at that's I'm proposing to do in the next 2-3 weeks. Put it out in the media, kind of launch a campaign. The campaign name I was thinking about was because there's a famous song called Pink, and she sings a song called What About Us, and I was listening to it over Christmas, and actually it came to me about what about us, about the people that have been denied access to medicinal cannabis. So that's the name I was thinking of putting it on. What about us?
What about us?
What's that?
Hashtag what about us?
What about, hashtag what about us?
Definitely get the hashtags going, because that's where you get it as well.
Yeah.
I do love a good hashtag.
Do you know how to do about what about the hashtags? I don't really understand that.
Yeah, but the hashtags more and more on,
Can you start that off?
What about us?
Yeah, hashtag what about us?
Hashtag what about us? Yeah.
Gino, I think I mentioned it earlier. I'm away between the 9th and the 14th. So if at all possible, I really don't want to miss the opportunity to speak. So if at all possible, if you can do it outside those dates, I'd be grateful.
I'll aim for after that.
After the 14th.
I'll aim for about the 16th, 17th.
Perfect.
That's what I was thinking, about the 3rd week of February.
Brilliant. Yeah, great.
Great thing about we can do press conference now in Buzzwells, because obviously COVID, I couldn't do that for a long time.
Nothing. Yeah.
So
that's where we done the one before.
What's that?
Is that where we done the one before?
Yeah, because we couldn't do it. We could do it outside, but
no, we do it there. That room was a nice room. It was fine.
So look, leave that with me, and what we aim to do is have 4 or 5 people there to say, look, this is our circumstances. The program is, it's welcome for those individuals that can get access, but we can't get it. And, we want to get access via medically and legally. And, we're being denied that. So it's a new kind of phase of the campaign. But I'm willing to kind of, as long as I'm in here, lads, I'll give as much as I can,
Fair play.
Have they given a date for when the review is going to commence, or did they just say it this year?
They just said this year, Natalie. So I'm going to put another question in and
If
ask.
you have a look at when the first published paper, they can't go past the date.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to kind of drill down exactly who's going to be on the committee and when it's going to happen. When it's going to happen. And look, I mean, it could become, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to preempt anything. But
it's a big thing of who's reviewing it. It can't be the same 10 gobshites that sat at the table the first time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The thing about Pamela, we have no sway over that as such. You know, I would, yeah.
As people power we do though, Gino. As people power we do.
Yeah,
people
I know.
Power is the only thing that we have going for us in Ireland.
What we would suggest is that those that are reviewing it, you know, have some sort of expertise around medical cannabis.
Because how could you have anybody reviewing something if they have no idea what they're reviewing?
Yeah, I know.
Even if they did think they knew what they were doing, they're not going to turn around and admit 5 years on that what they set up in the first place wasn't fit for purpose.
Yeah.
So obviously you're going to need kind of fresh opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. But look, I'll find out when the review is happening. But that will be kind of important to find out when it's happening. Who's going to be on the committee and when it will issue its report. I'll get that through a kind of parliamentary question. They may be vague about it, but once I get that, but we'll launch this campaign the next 2-3 weeks and then try to put pressure on the government via the kind of HPRA or the kind of review committee to say, look, this program was set up to give people of this country access that medical cannabis could be beneficial to their condition, and they're being denied that, and that's not right. So that's our starting point, and we'll.
Gino, is it possible to put a call out like to the consultants that actually are working with this and the GPs that are involved as well, and to get them just on board to?
Yeah, that's a hard one, Ashton. You know yourself. I mean, some of the consultants that have, you know, enrolled are at the moment are only for epilepsy. When the other products come available, particularly for MS and you know, side of the chemotherapy, the specialists of that area will hopefully enroll themselves and then refer their patients to the program.
There's at least one that's given for chronic pain, though, like for ministerial license.
Yeah.
And continuing to see, you know, so they might be able to, or Pam's young lads consultant who is still dealing with patients while they're on, you know.
Ryan has 2 consultants that back him, and they're both in Vincent's. One's an oncologist and one's gastro.
Okay. Lads, I'll be in touch now. I have to shoot off here. But look, thanks for coming. I think it was quite productive, and hopefully we can get something going and, you know, put pressure on the people in here and, you know, to broaden this thing out, and people, you know, we can get it, shape the kind of the narrative on it. So look, that's that. Thanks for everybody for coming, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you so much for tonight.
Thanks a million.
Thanks, Gino. Nice one.
Bye. Sorry about it was late. Sorry it was late.
And boom, that was it, guys. What do people think of that? That was a bit of an update there from Gino. He's going to be getting engaged on a new campaign around the medical cannabis access program to widen access to medical cannabis. Again, just the list of conditions there, it needs to be worked on. The products needs to be worked on. But again, you know, just kind of getting into just to remind them, you know, there's many people out there right now with medical conditions treating their symptoms adequately, illegally. You know, and how are we going to accommodate those people? They might want to transfer over. They might be happy out growing their own cannabis and treating their own condition. And why would you force somebody over onto a program when it mightn't even be any more effective, or it could be less effective than what they're already doing, which they find themselves, in their own opinion, that it is effective. So it's interesting, you know. It'll be interesting to see how this all unfolds over the coming months, maybe years. Hopefully it doesn't take years to sort this out here in Ireland. Hopefully the politicians will be able to see how nonsensical this crap is. You know, you can use cannabis for this condition, but you have to try all these other drugs beforehand. And these other drugs might make you shit your pants, and God only knows what else, like, you know, included there, you know, debt. But meanwhile, cannabis, like, what's the risk there? Oh, might cause schizophrenia, or fucking what's your man Bernard Durkin, like hallucinations. Like, dude, come on off the stage. Like, how many people have really had hallucinations from cannabis? Like, unless it's a form of an edible, which is different. Like, you know, that's not the common form of consumption, at the moment, anyway, at least. And again, education and information about dosage, and people won't be long avoiding that kind of situation. What's that? Ian Kavanagh, what's happening, Gugs? Green Fields of Ireland. Nice. Hashtag what about us? That was the hashtag there that they would like to get active. So if you're going to be posting about this discussion that took place here this evening, if you've got your own stories to share there, guys, I'm sure Gino Kenny would be more than happy to hear from me. I see Bridget Spalding out there as well in the audience, talking about being prescribed for pain and being able to come off a shitload of meds, but as a result of it being removed from the medical care, you no longer get access to it. That sucks. But again, you know, if cannabis is bringing benefit to whatever the condition is there, if it's pain that's ailing you and cannabis is benefiting you, definitely I'd say Gino would be more than happy to hear from anybody out there, whatever your condition might be. And again, you know, if you're a person out there who fits that description that I talk about, you know, that you're adequately treating your condition at home, you're adequately treating the condition of your loved one at home illegally, then you should reach out to them and again share your experience and share your opinions there with Gino, because I can only share mine, and I can only kind of say so much. Power of numbers and all that. There's a lot of people out there that are affected by this. Yeah, certainly was. John says there a quick ending. It was, but he did say it was. He had to run at 8 o'clock. He had to be somewhere else. He's busy out. But it was good. I thought that was a good discussion, so to speak. It's nice to hear that Gino's going to be actively getting behind the campaign now for the patients. And as well, I wanted to throw in there towards the end, but I didn't really get an opportunity. I know he was about to end the meeting as well. But he done a very successful public meeting drive. I don't know if you might have remember it. Was it back in 2016, 2017? They went around to many counties in Ireland. Gino, I think Vera went along. Tom Curran was present for many of those discussions. And there were tremendous discussions and very beneficial as well, because they got in community members who mightn't have been like watching Martin's World. You know, you just get they had one down here in Cork in the Maldron Hotel. I went down that night to be present, but there was many people just from the community who had heard of it, who'd maybe heard of Vera's story, and they wanted to come up and learn more. So I was going to ask, is there going to be a plan maybe to do something like that? But just didn't get the opportunity to chime in there towards the end. I didn't want to interrupt in any other discussion that was kind of happening there towards the end. Gugs, I'll PM, yeah, a nice one, Gugs, and tried to get up to you, and I'd love to support you, not just family wise, but fight for what you're doing. Nice one, Gugs. I appreciate that, man. I really do. As I say, I was just mentioning in the comments there to you that it's the 9th of February that I'm up in court in Dungarvan for that one joint. And I have an interesting thought there for people who might come down there on the day. But it's a symbolic protest again. Maybe we meet up a little bit earlier. Just thinking about it there. I was offered a solicitor and stuff like that, and that's all well and good, you know, that's great. But I really want to make a statement on this. So I was thinking maybe on the day that maybe we gather at about 10 o'clock and march back up to the guard station with another joint and hand myself in, but have a lot of other people there in unison with me, and we tie a string to the joint and we all hold the piece of string, you know. So something like that. I don't know. One joint, 100 people. I wonder, is it possible? Would we get 100 volunteers to come up and say, I own that joint. I think that the prohibition of cannabis is wrong, and I'm taking ownership of that joint, and I would like my day in court also alongside of Martin, as they were able to get it promptly down in Dungarvan. So let's make Dungarvan the port, the place to make it happen. I protested in Cork all across last year, planted plants right outside of the guard station, and I still haven't gotten a summons for any of that stuff yet. That's probably going to come at some stage. But down in Dungarvan, in August, I held a protest down there in support of Relief, the CBD store down there, CBD Cafe, who's been raided. The owner's home business has been raided more than 10 times. Absolutely a ridiculous carry-on, selling a product that doesn't even get a person high, has any psychedelic effects or anything like that. And they're down there raiding his store, raiding his business, trying to prevent him from providing a product to the community that benefits him so well. Like, some of his customers are parents buying CBD, full cannabis spectrum products for their kids who've conditions such as autism, and they were down there on that day protesting with us. We marched from the I can't remember the name of the park down there, but at the end, in the middle of Dungarvan, or at the start of Dungarvan, we marched from that park anyway up into the Dungarvan Garda station. We protested out in the Dungarvan Garda station's parking lot, out in their parking spaces. There was a number of us out there consuming cannabis, and it was quite pungent cannabis too. At one point, the guards actually had to close the station window. So they closed the window. Rather than come out and tell us, hey, don't you be smoking cannabis out there, they just closed the window. They wouldn't even come out to us because we were chanting, Garda Larkin, stop you parking. It was a good one. But then we went in with the joint, and that's what I'm up on court for. And that was in August, and I got the summons in November. I believe it was in November, December. I believe I got that summons. I think the date is on it, actually. Have it here, like in my from nearby. When was this issued? Where's the issue date? Summons date, 18th of October. 18th of October is they were able to get that summons for me for. They were eager beavers, aren't they, down there in Dungarvan? So I engaged in civil disobedience protest in August, and by October 18th, they had my summons issued at that point. That's quick. That's quick. There's connections down there. They want me. It'll be interesting to see what unfolds down there. But yeah, I'm going to represent myself going in there. They've no respect for me. I don't really have too much respect for them at all. They're violating my rights, and that's all that matters to me. Nothing else matters. I don't care about any of their other like legal jargon and stuff. It's plain and simple for me. I've got my human rights. I'm violating nobody else's security or anything like that by what I am doing, and therefore I should be allowed to do it. Again, I've been recently diagnosed with epilepsy myself, and I would like to have a choice in how I'd like to treat that. And if cannabis is going to be how I would like to manage my condition, then why is that right being taken away from me? Stefan, what's happening, Stefan? I see Stefan out there in the audience as well. He has no interest in representing cannabis consumers, only political gain from medical activism. He's useless. I've got my criticisms there as well of Gino, but I have to commend him. He's the only one up there actually fighting for this. As I brought up there within there, that we've that Sinn Féin TD, and she was sitting by while her husband was actively breaking this law. She's a lawmaker. She's a TD. She's up there representing the community. And meanwhile, she was lying. She was hiding behind the fear, the stigma that comes with illegally treating a condition with cannabis in Ireland. And that's shameful. So fair play for Gino for being up there. And, he's like, for whatever criticisms you might have, he's still the leader of the pack up there when it comes to reform of our drug laws around cannabis. At least he is whatever criticisms you might have, I have to give it to him. He's the leader of the pack up there at the moment in the Dáil on cannabis policy reform. And in fairness to him, and the recent health committee discussion there, the update that we got there from Frank Fian, I have to give it to Gino as well. He called him out, the prohibition of drugs, for being an absolute failure, just an absolute failure, and there's a need for change there. So again, he has to be commended for some of those things too. This, for me, I'm always going to be critical. I wanted it done yesterday. So I'm very biased in that regard, but I again give credit where credit's due, and it's good to see somebody up there at least doing something. Keith Griffin, they just want to meet you in person, Martin. Yeah, do you know what? In fairness, guys, I think you might have seen it on the live video that day in the Garda station. He's like, "Are you Martin? You the fellow who's planting the plants up in the city?" So they knew who I was. So I suppose it's not too often to get a celebrity down in Dungarvan. More importantly, a celebrity from Cork. Like, come on. All legends up in Cork. Hey, what's happening then though with Amy? She says, I have to speak up for Gino. He had me in for a presentation about endometriosis within 6 weeks of me coming back from surgery in Romania. I have the utmost respect for him. Yeah, same. I have a lot of respect for Gino as well. You know, is he perfect? But no, but who's perfect? As I say, you know, we can find criticisms of anybody really, and think it's more important to give credit where credit's due. And in this regard, I think Gino's doing his best. Being an F, Europe needs to lean on him. Oh, here, little man, giving out downstairs. John Figgin says, I have that video, I think. Oh, let me get a bowl packed up, buddy. Green tea at Martin's World and Varadkar is still under investigation a year later. Yeah, there you go. That's funny, isn't it? Like in regards to Leo Varadkar, like they pretty much have all the evidence there that they need to get a prosecution. Apparently, like they have the documents, they have the leaking and whatever. Like apparently, what he like I don't know the ins and outs of it. But yeah, still under investigation. Come on, like he either did break the law or he didn't break the law, and it's like a year and a bit later now. It seems if it's a year and a bit later, he probably broke the law and they're just trying to find a way around it, maybe. Oh, yeah, it's definitely problematic for him, and he's supposed to be being appointed our Taoiseach now later this year. At the end of this year, isn't it, I think? Isn't that the deal? Also, guys, just to give you a heads up, I'll be joining the guys over on High and Homegrown at 9 p.m. for a live discussion over there for a bit. So if you're not too busy and if you want to join us for further discussions on cannabis and all things cannabis, then 9 o'clock over on the High and Homegrown podcast, we'll be having some discussions over there. Just fill up my volcano. But yeah, Dave says that there as well, Gino's not perfect, but he's trying. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, John Finn and I am Spartacus. Yeah, Teresa, Mark messaged me earlier this morning, alright, and if that's what you're on about, in terms of the solicitor and stuff like that, I definitely think I'm just going to go and represent myself, unless the solicitor insists. But I don't know, do I see much benefit to it, to having a solicitor there? I don't know. As I say, like I'm like Stephen Garland brought it up there, you know, you're just fed up of it. Like not the activism side of it, but just the going to court and all of that bullshit that comes with getting caught with some cannabis. Like it's just sad at this stage. I'm 32, I've got 3 kids, like much better things I could be doing with my time in than having to do all of this stuff, like, you know, like it was being brought up. Did you see those posts that were over there on Brendan Minish? Give a shout out to Brendan Minish. Let's see if I can find him through his I'm sure he won't mind me sharing these, but when the discussions were being had back in the 1970s, when the introduction of drug prohibition was being brought about, there was some very interesting points being brought up. And again, I'm just going to try to find the specific ones here, because I got tagged in them. Like, even Casa de Strugas was talking about this the other day as well, that like the worry is if they end the prohibition of cannabis or something like that, that it's going to really interfere with the guards' abilities to stop and search people, which is, you know, Is that really a problem? I'm just seeing if I can find a specific one. It's definitely worth finding if I can find it. Oh, Brendan's. Yeah, there we go. These are the ones. So I'm going to pop this up on screen in a few seconds. So I finally found the post. Just get my Chrome onto the right one. Boom, there we go. Excellent. So this is Brendan Minish. So he's a follower there over on Twitter and a supporter of the show as well. So shout out to Brendan and fair play and bringing these and putting them out there on Twitter. And again, I should get this now, like, and a retweet there as well. But these are comments. I dwelt on cannabis casually there, but I think we should understand about cannabis, because every time we talk about a drug and addiction, we talk about marijuana, and the emotional connotations associated with this relatively innocuous drug are really ridiculous. As I have said, I will be accused of preaching a heresy in saying this, but I believe it has a useful place in the medical armamentarium. So again, I'll just repeat that. I believe it has a useful place in the medical armamentarium. And here we are now, 50 years later, and we've had a woman who had to walk from Cork to Dublin in order to get her daughter, who would not be alive possibly today without access to cannabis. We've had that unfold. This was pointed out all those years ago. I'm just going to bring this up there again, just make that bigger so you can see the whole post. But that was back in 1975 this discussion was being had, and I believe that was a comment from a Labour TD, I think he says, Dr. O'Connell, Labour at the time. So that's where those comments were coming from there. There's a number of other posts up there as well. Having reviewed all material available to us, that, by the way, extends to millions and millions of words. There have been volumes and volumes written about it. We find ourselves in agreement with the conclusion reached by the Indian Hemp Drugs Commission appointed by the Government of India in 1894 and the New York Mayor's Committee on Marijuana of 1944, and their conclusion is that the long-term consumption of cannabis is in moderate doses, has no harmful effects whatsoever. Yet here we are, 50 years later, and we've got organised crime gangs out there making millions, if not billions of euros every bloody year, tax-free, off the back of the innocent people in our communities, the young kids that they have up there that lure into this kind of lifestyle. And it's not just cannabis they have them selling, then they start selling all sorts of other drugs, which brings its own problems, and then they arm them with guns and things like that as well. I don't know if the attack here in Cork that happened last night was drug related or what, but apparently somebody got attacked in a house down here in Cork where a gang of people rushed into a gaff and they stabbed some person who was there, dog sitting, person over there minding his friend's dog while the friend was away, and they got stabbed at the gaff in some sort of a crazed attack. So again, is that some sort of a turf war, drug war? Is that some dude who owed somebody money or maybe he robbed somebody's stash? Who knows? But if that wasn't, there's probably many other violent stories out there where that was the case, where it was related to, again, drug feuds. Again, Keane Reedy Woods have to keep on repeating that one. I used to lecture on drugs, but sorry, I'm just reading this. We might be losing our heads over the effects of this drug. Yeah, again, this guy was afraid of speaking out for fear of being attacked by his peers. If a person has a reefer on him for having possession of it, he could get 5 years. To me, that is a very serious matter, and I would ask the minister to look carefully at that again. Yeah, they did. I think it's now down to a year, but still a year. Even 5 minutes of that person's time for that cannabis joint is too much of that person's time. If a person is found with a reefer, a cannabis cigarette in his pocket, and if he decides for trial by jury, he could get a £1,000 fine or 5 years or both. That to me is unfair and unjust. I cannot equate that with a much more serious drug of physical and psychological dependence that the barbiturates and other such as the metaquilone and Nandrax tablets, which are much more serious than the real drugs of addiction. They are even worse. They are in part 3. They are considered much less potent. That is what is so ludicrous than the cannabis or cannabis resin, which is in part 2 of the controlled drugs. And it's worse now, I think, isn't it? Is it not it's into section 1, like no medical use, despite the fact there's a number of people being prescribed it. Ridiculous. Oh yes, it's 4:20. Nice one, John Phantom. It's 4:20 out there somewhere. Well, it's 4:23 now. But yeah, it was 4:20. So nice one, John. I would very seriously ask the minister to object about this. I know he is guided by his advisors, but perhaps he might ask them to revise the literature on the effects of cannabis. Excuse me. I shouldn't cough into that mic. Study the Watton report, the LaGuardia report, and the Indian Hemp Commission report before coming to the conclusion that cannabis is such a frightfully dangerous drug. There is no evidence that cannabis consumption has led to further addiction or consumption of other drugs. This point must be borne in mind by the minister. No, we must ignore all of these points because they go against our agenda, which is we want to ban drugs. But you know, there was sense being spoken back then. There was some honesty there within that, but they ignored it. Here we are now facing the problems, you know, from that ignorance all these years later. As I say, a woman had to walk from Cork to Dublin, another woman had to leave Cork and move to Alicante. You know, hashtag bring Alicia home. Messed up stuff, and the ignorance just continues. We've your man, Mr. Durkin, up there, and he's just coming out with all sorts of heinous stuff about cannabis. Oh, it causes hallucinations. People will willingly feed it to kids. It's like, what? People are doing what now? Where's this going on? Like, what people are out there just being like, hey kids, do you want some cannabis? That's not happening, right? I've never heard of that situation really unfolding. Maybe it happens, but you know, it's not my experience for that to be happening. Anybody out there ever heard of that happening? Like, you know, someone just coming along and, you know, to be fair, I'd be more worried about what that person's intentions are with the child more than what would happen if my child was to get the cannabis off them. It's just like, this is much more fucking dangerous situation that you get some stranger offering your kid anything at all, like. Oh, but seriously, like, you know, there's something in cannabis, is it, that's going to make you want to offer it to kids? Just come on, like Mr. Durkin. So all of those, what would you call them? Statements. Yes, all of those transcripts. Yes, transcripts of the debates. Back at when they were debating the Misuse of Drugs Act, which was put in place in 1977. So those debates are available up online in the Oireachtas archive. Brendan Minish, thankfully, he went through there and he got some very nice screenshots of them. And yeah, so nice one, Brendan. Really appreciate that, dude. Yeah, I know it's that alright, John. Thomas says, the myth of mental illness, 1974. There is no such thing as psychosis. Eminent psychiatrist, New York, USA. Yeah, there's probably some people out there with psychosis who would argue with you. But they would probably argue with everybody because they got psychosis. John Finnegan says, when you say Durkin, I think of her man from Hardy Bucks. I actually only started watching Hardy Bucks there a few months ago. It's all right. Yeah, I got like halfway through like the first season, and it didn't keep me interested, to be honest. Unfortunately, maybe I just wasn't baked enough. I don't know. It was just like, I don't know, like you really have to leave your brain outside of the door, like that kind of comedy. And I like that kind of comedy, like if it can kind of keep you there. Like it was just no, it was just like it really required you to completely leave your brain outside the door. But it's still funny though. Like Stephen Kavanagh had a whole powerful performance in the committee the other day. Hope it's only the start. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what comes now. You know, like it was a powerful performance over there, but was it just a one-hit wonder? Is that going to be it now for the next few months? Again, I'd like to see some more follow-up there from a few of the commenters on the day. You know, there was a few. I can't remember her name now. Not Nessa Horrigan or the other one. Roisin Shorthall. Roisin Shorthall. Again, you know, I'd like to see some follow-ups from Roisin, from Nessa, from Lynn. Again, putting pressure on the government that, look, hey, all the restrictions are lifted right now. Come on, like, follow up now. Like, that's what Frank was bringing up as one of the reasons as to why there was no Citizens Assembly taking place. He also blamed the Taoiseach's office, which, come here, hey, Micheál, if you're out there, dude, you want to have a word there with Mr. Fian, because he's throwing you under the bus, buddy. But again, you know, the restrictions are lifted now, so, hey, come on, get to it there, lads. Get the Citizens Assembly put together promptly. You know, there's more than enough time there. You could get something organised for maybe March or April. I don't know how much notice you have to give the interested parties or those involved. But surely, if we can get the ball rolling right now, we could have the Citizens Assembly take place and hopefully have the discussion done and all before the government go on their summer recess. The Viper. Hardy Bucks will never be as good as Trailer Park Boys, and they clearly want to be. Yeah, there was definitely that. I think that was maybe my problem after seeing the Trailer Park Boys, which again, you know, I found it to be quite funny. But I'm just, I don't know, I never watched all of the Trailer Park Boys. I know is that a shameful thing to say, but I've watched more Trailer Park Boys than I did than the Hardy Bucks. But there was definitely that, yeah, but I didn't even know which one came first, to be honest, so I wasn't too judgmental in that regard. Charlene saying, I've emailed Roisin a number of times, and her response is that the MCAP is up and running, won't discuss much more. Yeah, that's it, because where is Roisin? Is she an independent or is she Fine Gael? I have to look her up there now. Somebody's probably going to comment it before I get there maybe, but Chuck the Doyle. Who's she with? Social Democrats. Social Democrats she's with. Okay, yeah, it's interesting, because I suppose the Social Democrats are a pro-cannabis legalisation party. In the best of my knowledge, they're not active on it, but apparently in the last election anyway, there was a TD down here in Cork, and I can remember looking in, and I was just kind of, if I could have voted for her, I probably would have. Herself and her partner got in. They were on different parties, I believe. He's in a different party, I think. And she was with the Social Democrats. Can't think of her name now. But I believe at the time that the Social Democrats were a pro-cannabis legalisation party, but just they didn't have a policy on it. But they were supportive of the change. But Charlene saying here, she's in my area. Yep, Social Democrats. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, all right, you know, even just outside of the medical cannabis access program, it's what I brought up there to Gino, the fact that there's people out there right now adequately treating their medical condition with cannabis, and they might want to continue doing that. They might be in a situation where a friend or family member or even themselves are growing the cannabis and processing it into oil, or maybe even consuming the flower. but whatever it might be, the person is happy, their condition is adequately being seen to, and they would like to just have the criminal sanctions around that just removed and not being there in place. Because that's going on out there. So it's a shame that she won't engage in a discussion because the medical cannabis access program is there. When again, we one of our colleagues up there within Dial, another TD, what's her name, Violet Ann, her husband, using cannabis illegally, and she's a TD. It's like, come on. Yeah, so I definitely think that's just kind of a scapegoat. Oh, the MCAP is up and running. Don't need to say no more there now. Next. She's just hoping that you go away, that you're maybe some naive person who doesn't know better and is just going to accept that. Oh, the MCAP is up. I better go and look into the MCAP. Oh, yeah, that's great. Again, you might be one of the people or some other people out there who fit that description I talk about there. You're happy with how you're getting your condition treated at the moment, and this MCAP is not benefiting you at all. B9F saying they could get elected on that ticket with hemp as climate change and legalization. Yeah, that's it. I think cannabis and hemp as part of an effort there to reduce the carbon footprint or the carbon whatever score. I don't know what it's even called these days. But just definitely in an effort to help with climate change, but also to tackle pollution as well, because there's so many biodegradable products that could be made with hemp. But with the cannabis industry up and running, then you're going to have an influx of quality hemp fibers from all of those cannabis plants as a byproduct of the cannabis industry. So you're going to have one industry out there, the hemp industry, actually growing cannabis plants in order to process the hemp then for the fibers and all of that other stuff within it. But then you'll also have the add-on of the cannabis industry, the medical cannabis industry, where you're going to have all of that fiber. That's no good really in the medical cannabis industry, in the cannabis industry. Like all of those stalks, they could be just sent down and processed and used in maybe building materials. There you go, like housing the homeless off of byproducts of the cannabis industry. Yeah, like that's it. Like B9F saying here, climate change is a big seller at the moment. Jack Herrer had it, and that's the thing to remember. Jack Herrer had it back then in when was Jack Herrer? Late 90s, or even further back actually. Geez, yeah, I think it was in the 90s he passed away. I can't even recall when he passed away now off the top of my head. But Jack Herrer definitely did The Emperor Wears No Clothes, a very good book. And he outlined it then. I think at the time was 20,000 plus uses of the cannabis plant. He was listed in that book. And I believe we've increased that now to being 50,000 plus uses of the cannabis plant in terms of like the medicinal, therapeutic, and all the industrial uses there. It's crazy. You can make fucking batteries out of the cannabis plant these days now. Imagine that. Batteries. Yes, see you later, Keith Griffin. Catch you later. Again, nice one to Gino Kenny there anyway, and the people before profit for putting on the discussion tonight and for doing their part on taking on this medical cannabis access program and to help the patients. It's good to see somebody doing something up there on it anyway. B9F, nice one for your comments there. John Finnegan, can't spam this hammer time. Go on, John Finnegan. Do you smash somebody with a hammer? I'm not seeing that here on the Streamlabs. Good man. F. Makian, MCAP is a window dressing by politicians and civil servants. Lip service appearing to do something. Exactly. Smoke and mirrors, that's it, just give them something, distraction. Give them something, just like satisfy them, and then they can, like the media can go to, oh yeah, but do we have the medical cannabis access program, don't we? And it's just hindering the process. You have to talk about this thing and point out the flaws and the errors, and now look what we have Gino Kenny wanting to improve it. It's like, no, we just, like, to be honest, I should have said it in the meeting. It's just like, should we really even be trying to improve the medical cannabis access program, or should we not just be putting an effort there just to scrap the prohibition of cannabis and open up the door to therapeutic access and put in place, proper regulations around patients getting access and all of that. But again, maybe that's more complicated than it is in me just saying it. Pods for 420 Ireland has plans to be tobacco free by 2025. There'll have to be an alternative, and cannabis is the answer. Yeah, interesting. I wonder, would they allow that, swap one form of combustion for another? You would wonder. I wonder, will they just put in an outright ban on smoking? Like not even tobacco or anything, just smoking. It's like, no, smoking's bad for your health, so we're going to make it illegal. If a cop sees you smoking somewhere in public, or if somebody reports you doing it at home, we're going to kick in your door and find you with your smoking paraphernalia. Yeah, they'll come up with a license for lighters then, and you have to account for your gas use. Oh, sorry, jokes. Charlene says, have a read of that case, Martin. Nice one, Charlene. I'll have a quick look at it there now. Appreciate it. Man, that's crazy, Charlene. I'll pop that up on screen there. I'll just pop up the headline because I just noticed that there's people named within the article. So, for not wanting to name people who might not want to be named, this is the headline that Charlene just shared with me there in the comments from Facebook. Couple found with €28,000 worth of cannabis plan to make cannabis oil for man's dying mother. That's the headline. That's sickening. I'm going to do everything in my power to make contact with these people and to see if they'll have a discussion with me about this case. I know many other people out there who've been in situations like this, and again, camera shy, just not being public speakers. They didn't really want to have a talk about this. But I know a few people who have helped loved ones, uncles, mothers, with cannabis oil who had cancer, and it really aided in their passing, I suppose. And I don't think any of them got cured, but they lived a lot longer than what was expected of them, and their condition plateaued, for a lot longer than what was expected, and their passing was a lot more pleasurable, if you will. It wasn't as bad. So there was a lot of benefits there that was seen from people using cannabis illegally. And MB Sanchez, you're an absolute hero. Nice one for the support there. Thanks very much, MB, and getting in a super chat there. With 1999, absolute legend. He says, keep fighting the good fight for a free Ireland, the home of green lovers everywhere. Yes, love it. That's what I say. I love Paddy's Day because I always kind of joke and say, yeah, let's make Ireland celebrate Paddy's Day the green way, which is with cannabis. The Emerald Isle. That's kind of what we call ourselves. The Emerald Isle. And it's kind of has a green fields. So yeah, definitely green is the color of Ireland, and I definitely think there's going to be a big benefit if we get cannabis, or not if. Well, I suppose if this year, but when we get cannabis legalized here eventually, there's going to be a great benefit to people, having that alternative to alcohol. But not only that, but for situations like this where you might have a loved one who you might be able to even avoid a situation. I wonder, how beneficial early treatment is in these situations with cannabis oil. Because if it slows down and it's able to even in some cases cause a regression, is that what it's called? Where the tumor shrinks. That's what happened in one of my buddy's mom's cases. He was giving her cannabis oil, and the tumors started shrinking. Now his mother still later passed on, but many years later, a lot later than the doctor actually expected. And cannabis oil definitely was. Seems to be the magic tool that time. I'm just going to pop this headline off the screen, and I'll read the contents of the article there. But it says a couple who claimed they had around 28,000 worth of cannabis. So just to put that in context, guys, that's just shy of 1.5 kilos, about 1.25 to 75 kilos. So again, just less than 1.5 kilos worth of cannabis to manufacture their own cannabis oil to assist the man's dying mother. And they've both received suspended sentences. It gives their names here. They were 35 and 37, so they're in their 30s. Again, young people, you know, that they were both facing a possible 10 years behind bars here because of this case. 28,000 euro, guys, is above the 13,000 euro minimum mandatory, where they should be getting, as a requirement, the law, 10 years in prison for their crime. But they got a suspended sentence. It's crazy, you know, to be going from 10 years behind bars to, not suspended sentence. It's like, whoa, imagine the stress that they were under. Not bad enough that the man's mother was dying, but then to be faced this situation, you know, no, we don't even have the cannabis to make the oil for mother, and mammy's fucking situation got worse. They didn't get the benefit that maybe my friend's mom got, where she lived a lot longer than was expected. I'm not too sure. Has the mother passed? I don't know. I'll read into the article a bit further, but it's a horrible situation, really. Like these guards, you know, going out there thinking that they're doing good, but they're just ruined. What hope that they had there of maybe assisting their mother at having a better quality of life before she passed. Again, I hope she didn't pass. I hope she's still alive and well, and I hope they got cannabis somewhere else. But it says here, lapping at a previous conviction for possession of drugs while Dinnigan had just read out surnames there, my bad. Had convictions for assaulting, causing harm, and theft. It says the mother had been diagnosed with cancer in 2018, and there it says that actually she has since passed away. So my condolences there to the two individuals, the couple involved in this, for the passing of your mother and mother-in-law. It says Garda Paul Nolan told the court that he was conducting the Garda checkpoint that afternoon when he beckoned the driver of his Cedar Beats to pull over. The driver stopped 20 yards in front of him and he spoke to her through a window, and after she was unable to roll down the driver's window, Garda Nolan said he got a strong smell of cannabis from the car. The other person claimed she had just smoked a joint and she was driving to work. She was arrested, and the Garda determined that she had consumed an intoxicant to such an extent that she was not capable of being in proper control of a vehicle. Really? But anyway, they later provided a blood sample and was found to be over the limit for driving. Garda Nolan said that the person's home was later searched and 2 quantities of cannabis were found in 2 separate amounts in the bedroom. The car was also searched and 4 separate containers were discovered underneath a seat. The cops confirmed that the total amount of cannabis found in the house was €28,360, and €224 worth of cannabis was found in the car. During a Garda interview, the person said her boyfriend's mother was ill with cancer and she was intending to make cannabis oil with the cannabis to help the woman with pain. The person was arrested, and the following month, and during a Garda interview, he took full ownership for the cannabis. He said the reason he had the cannabis was to get cannabis oil for his mother, who had been unwell since August 2018. She noted the pair had accepted responsibility for wrongdoing and pleaded guilty. An early opportunity probation report found that they were low risk of reoffending. Judge Codd said it would be unjust to impose the presumptive mandatory minimum sentence of 10 years in this case. She handed down a 3-year sentence to both of the defendants, which she suspended in full on a number of conditions. So, like, bad enough they were facing 10 years in prison, but they're now kind of facing a situation where if they sneeze now wrong, they could end up in bloody prison again over the suspended sentence. I don't know, again, I'm joking, sneeze wrong, like, but seriously, if they're just caught with a joint again, like, you know, it's bad. That's bad. He agreed with Vincent Hennigan, defending that she believed that cannabis oil could be used as a form of medication if other medications are not working, and outlined the system she used to make the oil during the interview. It was accepted that both have not come to Garda attention since their arrest, and the solicitor said that his client is now attending a herbal medicine online course in an attempt to find an alternative to cannabis. No, you don't need an alternative to cannabis. You don't. You just need to sort out this silly bloody law. But fair play for getting on the herbal medicine course. Hopefully that goes well for you. Mr. Hennigan said his client has a 19-year-old daughter, and he added that she accepts she was wrong and what she did was illegal. It was not there for her own profit, and submitted the solicitor submitted before he added that his client is willing to put her troubles behind her and pick herself up by the bootstraps. Like this thing, pick yourself up by the bootstraps. Like you were doing nothing wrong. You were providing a medicine for a person who suffers with a serious health condition. You were doing something right. It was the court that's doing the wrong thing, surely, you know? So messed up. Yes, so nice one for sticking with me through that story there. Just looking through some of your comments there. PCP not pop. Again, nice one, MB Sanchez there for that super chat, and really appreciate the support. Others out there, MB Sanchez says, get the 9-leaf clover going. That's the one. That's where the real luck is, and the luck is in the healing that comes with it. You're lucky if you're on the receiving end of that healing. And Daily Talker says, hey, thanks for supporting the show and the movement, and that's a shout out to MB Sanchez. Nice one Daily Talker, for showing the support there as well. And 100k says, Martin, I tagged you in something in the Hotbox group. I think that would be nice to add on a pick for a campaign and change some bits if possible. I'll just have a quick look up through it there again. Hunter. When you at me, you have to at Martin's World as well, because a few people have at Martin, and it doesn't glow. Can't find it there, Hunter. If you can relink it there, or maybe hit me up in Telegram or something like that later on. Nice one. And guys, as well, go over onto that fundraiser page where the raffle was over at martinsworld.ie. There's a link up there for the Telegram group. I should add it into the description of the shows actually as well from now on. But we've a public Telegram group at the moment over there, so anybody can just click and join, and again, just take part in the discussion there and say hello to all of the other people that might be here in the Hotbox that are on the Telegram chat group as well. But that link is up there right now anyway on the martinsworld.ie over in the 420 blog. If you go to the raffle page or the raffle post, and you'll find it there. But yeah, I'll update it in the description of the show there as well later on. But right, and Constant Gardner, absolute legend there, Constant. Nice one for the support, and sending in a peace and happy smokes, y'all. Nice. Yes. I better fill up one more bag from this volcano. Well, yes, really appreciate the support there coming in from Mr. Sanchez and Mr. Constant Gardner. Really appreciate it, guys. I hope Mr. Sanchez is a Mr. actually. B9F says, can charities refuse donations from the courts if they disagree with the law? I'd be interested in that as well. I've actually messaged one or two charities there since seeing some of the money that was received by them. There was a few articles that came out there over the Christmas period, and they were listing the charities that were benefiting from the court donation box. And I emailed one or two of them, and I was just kind of like, the majority of that money comes from people who are victims of war and drugs. They're being unfairly punished for a crime that should not actually even be a crime. And I got no reply from, it was at the Irish Dogs Trust. And again, they probably do great work and everything. I have no problem with the Irish Dogs charities and whatever, but it was just kind of, it'd be interesting to get their opinion on that. It's just like, that's blood money of sorts. People are being extorted. I was extorted from my experience. It was a form of extortion. I had to pay this money for my freedom. Yeah, the Guy Dogs was mentioned. Yeah, there was a few others there as well. But yeah, that was one of the ones that I contacted. John Finnegan says, "Don't you tell me what to do, Can." Shut up, you puss book lover, John Finnegan. Oh no, you're on YouTube. Never mind. Get Alexis after you, John. DVK says, "I'm just about to roll up one for the 4 grams. The 4 grams a fellow biker gave me." Oh, nice. Sorry, just gonna roll one up from the 4 grams a fellow biker gave me. Nice. To try from his stash on Saturday. Only have about a gram of it left. Nice, happy days. Hopefully you've been enjoying that one, so. We'll finish off this bag and we'll start to sign off then. And as I say, guys, I'll be joining the guys over on High and Homegrown in 10 minutes. Woo! He probably has the live video up there. It was going to be private, but Mackie decided to make it public. Yes. So feel free to pop on over there in 10 minutes to continue the discussion. Hey, what's happening, Canaman83? Shout out to all Love and Lights Gromies. Love and Lights Gromies. Love it. So creative. Hopefully all's well there, Canaman, and nice one again for the support, and thanks to everybody else who's commented, liked, and shared the stream tonight. And again, as I say, credit to the people before Profit and Gino Kenny for putting on tonight's discussion. There wouldn't have been a stream tonight without them, and I felt somewhat optimistic leaving that anyway. You know, there was good support there was good energy there, and hopefully going forward now we'll see a lot of progress, a lot of momentum building up again, you know, because we had a lot of momentum going there towards the end of last year. We've lost a bit of steam there, but like hopefully we'll start warming up the engines there now and full steam ahead again on this campaign. Oh, excuse me. Oh, made a lovely cheesecake a while ago. Made an Oreo cheesecake with my special assistant Alexis. We done an excellent job, in fairness. Alexis done most of the work. I supervised. I'm a good supervisor. I think I'm going to go down and get another slice actually, you know, before this this next podcast. Right. Much loved, everybody. DPK got another comment in there, and John Finnegan says, "Na na 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 na." DPK, I am indeed, since the cops park up outside the house between 9:30 and 1:30, so I'm going to enjoy it outside before they start their revenue stops outside. Oh man. And you should be able to, like, trying to find a place down the road or something, you know what I mean? Do a bit of hiding in the bushes and, like, just spark them on up and just freak them out, like, you know, make sure you don't get caught and shit, like, but I'd love to be just winding them up, like imagine if you can get, like, a kind of a stink bomb, but instead of, like, it being stinking rotten eggs, like, that it was a smell of cannabis, and you could be, like, just throwing it out there, winding the cops up. Yes, John, that is true. Also, we're just shit hot at making some treats, so Hunter K saying, "Have a good night. I'll catch you over in the High and Homegrown in a few." Nice one, Hunter K. See you over there in a bit. Right, so guys, as I have about 4 minutes to go down and get me a slice of the Oreo cheesecake, I'll say much love to you all, guys. Nice one for tuning in. And again, guys, I hope you appreciated the work that was done there by Gino. And again, if there's anybody out there that would like to share their story, if you're a medical cannabis user in Ireland, I'm sure Gino would love to hear from you, and to see how he can represent you and what he's fighting for with this bill and widening access. So much love, guys. Have a nice evening, and if I might see some of you over in High and Homegrown soon, if not, catch all the rest of you on Friday at 7, guys, for some 420 news, chats, and bants. So peace. Stay blazed. Keep it lit. Oops. Wrong button. My bad. I done a Mackie on it. Hey.